Happy Halloween, Hornets fans. It is game freaking day, and welcome back to another edition of Inside the Nest. I'm your host, John Schneider, credentialed media member for all Roswell Athletics. We are here. It's Milton week. It's now game day at the time of this recording. Y'all know what time it is. It is time for the Hornets to possibly get their first win over the Milton Eagles in almost 7 years. Correct me if I'm wrong from my previous episodes where I said it's been almost a decade. I mean, we're approaching a decade at least. So, as forementioned in the Gainesville recap and reaction episode, this is for the region title for the Hornets. If they win, they get a 1 seed in the playoffs, along with all the other region champs, right? The top 4 region champs get bye seeds, or not get 1 seeds, excuse me. So, going in this game, you want to go break it down from a ranking standpoint? Roswell 43rd nationally, Milton 48. Roswell's edge there, which has been a minute since Roswell's been ranked over Milton in max preps. 8th in the state of Georgia to 10 in the state of Georgia for Roswell and Milton, and first in the region, and then third in the region for Milton. Third in 5A to 5. Roswell made that jump from 5 to 3, with Langston Hughes and TCC ahead of them as well. So, before we get into the matchup here, the key game moments, the keys to the game, impact players, who's got who, right? Advantages for the Hornets. We've mentioned the possibility of what a 3-way tie would do, and me trying to come up with the best guess of what would actually happen. Well, now I have that answer for you here as to how a 3-way tie would be decided between Gainesville, Milton, and Roswell if Roswell were to lose this game. Knock on wood, they won't. So, to explain this, in 3-way tiebreaker, this is more so meant for who gets a 4 seed in a region. Normally, this doesn't really happen for 1 seeds. So, in this scenario, Milton would beat Roswell. Roswell has already beaten Gainesville, and Gainesville has beaten Milton. So, after talking to our athletic director, Miss Coach Suter, thank you so much for giving me this insight into this. You can't go over 13 points or below negative 13 points. And it's what I mean here is there's a margin of victory combination across all 3 of these games. So for Gainesville, I'm going to explain how this works here. For Gainesville, they are plus 10. They beat Milton by 12 and then lost to us by 2. So they are now plus 10. They can't go over 13 and they can't go below negative 13. Milton is minus 12. That's from losing to Gainesville by 12 at their home place. If they go under 13, then if they go below negative 13, they'll be out, which, I mean, in that case, that's just Roswell winning, and they just win the region. Game over. It doesn't really matter what a 3-way tiebreaker would be. So, Roswell is now plus 2 for beating Gainesville by 2 points. Roswell has, if you don't win the region, hold up. Revert back to that. If you lose this game to Milton, you don't win the region, you'll still be a 2 or 3 seed. I believe actually the 3 seed. Or maybe 2 seed. I think 2 seed. Depending on how bad 2 seed. 2 seed. Unless it is by multiple touchdowns to Milton, Roswell will have the 2 seed if they lose. Thus, Gainesville would have the region because of their margin of victory, and that's how that works. And if it usually goes, okay, well, who beat who, right? Start off, then what's your record against the rest of the region? Well, that's irrelevant because everyone else beat up the rest of the region. So, there's that. So that's how the 3-way tiebreaker would work and everything like that. So, that's now cleared up, and hopefully I can give some clarification to y'all about how that would work. if Roswell were to lose later tonight, I guess. Yeah, time it's recording. Yeah, it is. It is Halloween, so it's it's time. It's definitely time. All right, getting into this. What's Milton been doing recently? The Eagles have won 5 other games this year by 25 or more. And that's been, if it hasn't been Buford or Gainesville or Blessed Trinity, they haven't really played a close game all year. Roswell's been in these closer games more than Milton has, I'd say. Gainesville for sure. Actually, no, I'm gonna go back on that. They've been in a lot of close game situations. I'd say they were actually equal in that sense. Milton only lost to Buford by 7, and they were in a tough. They locked heads all game. And if you want to look at Gainesville, yeah, Gainesville just kind of held them at arm's distance. Roswell and Gainesville were just back and forth, with Roswell coming out on top. And then if you want to point for Roswell, that's just you're pointing to the Walton game for having to clutch up and get that victory over the Walton Raiders with a balanced walk-off field goal. So you can point to there. I'd say it's about equal for amount of clutch situations that either team is needed here. Story of this game will be the Roswell offense versus the Milton defense. Milton's defense does not give up many points. It's very similar to Gainesville's defense. They don't let up many points. You can't really play sideline to sideline against them. Play basically spread football. You're going to have to get up the middle, and you're going to have to create some weird stuff out of your butt for this game. So, Roswell averaging almost 44 points per game. We knew this when Coach Thompson was coming over from Lee County. He's going to put up points regardless of who he has out there, and he certainly has. Milton averaging 31.8 points, close to 32 points here. And I think you can contribute that to the loss of the guys they lost last year, including their starting quarterback, now replaced by Ben Halevy, or Halevy, however you pronounce it. He's a sophomore, so still growing in experience for the Eagles. Whereas compared to Trey Smith, where he's had a year starting under his belt, he's been in state playoff games. He started in state playoffs games. He's been in these tough situations here starting for the Hornets. So you can kind of contribute that to that standpoint. Again, like I said, Milton, despite that loss to Gainesville, they've held teams really close. And if you go to Buford, they held Buford to pretty much 14 points offensively. One of Buford's touchdowns was a pick 6 against them. So they are very good at holding teams when they need to, and they've done it all year. They had their highest win margin, if that does anything for you, against Johns Creek. I mean, who hasn't at this year? Roswell did it too. They won 60-0. Milton won 57-0. So similar to that. Now, going into Roswell's advantages here, the Hornets' advantage, we're going to call it that. One, you're at home. You're at the friendly confines of Ray Manus to end the season on a senior night. It is going to be a blackout. Loads of students are going to be there, hopefully. Guys, come on, show up, please. And pretty much for the most part, the entire Roswell community, even though it is Halloween. So, you have, I guess, also just to make it even more jacked up, if you will, State TV is going to be there, Peachtree TV, Atlanta News First, they're the same thing, and as well as GPB. So, huge game, ranked as the number 7 game of the week for Max Preps. One of the best rivalries in the state of Georgia, if not the best rivalry in my opinion. I mean, I'm a Roswell student, so of course I'm going to think that. But still, even coming from if I was to take from a huge 2,000-foot view perspective, if you will, here, I'd still say it is. I mean, I guess you can throw in Lowndes and Valdosta, but I'm still taking Roswell Milton. Anyways, heck of a clap. What this game is also going to come down to is Halevy versus Trey Smith. Trey, it's got to be another one of those Gainesville performances where you're surgical passing the ball, you're efficient on third down, you're converting on third down more than not, and you're making plays happen with your legs and creating and if he's getting 2 or more rushing touchdowns, I'm gonna say this: if Trey Smith, if we look at the end of this game, we look at the box score, and we see that Trey Smith has 2 rushing touchdowns, I'd say Roswell wins. If he has 3, Roswell definitely wins, in my opinion. So, and then also how well Ben Hallaby performs against this Hornets defense that's been ramping up its play here going into the state playoffs as we continue here throughout the season. And they've really impressed me for how they played. They've very bend, don't break, but they'll definitely break the other team's offense, if you will, here. And they're very clutch. Very clutch. They're very opportunistic, as we like to say. Specifically, if you're looking at the safeties, the DB room, I think, for this team is possible. The back 7, in my opinion, is the strength for this defense. From Presnall to Jake Smith to Brody Duffy, to Christian English, Trey Harris in the back end, Caden Perry, Ian Faust, all of it. Now, switching over to the impact players for Milton, you got Ben Hallaby. Obviously, he's the quarterback, so they're gonna need a great game out of him. Bentley Hickman, their leading rusher, he's very solid. Very, very, very solid. You're going to have to contain him on the ground. Luckily, it's not Nigel Newkirk, which Newkirk still got his. I mean, Newkirk's Newkirk, right? That's one of the best running backs in the state, and he's going to get his. But Bentley Hickman's, don't get it twisted, he's a good back. He's put up quality stats all throughout the year as well. On defense, you're looking to Blaze Battaglia here. Sorry, just looking back over here at my show notes to make sure I got these names right. And then number 1 target for Hallaby is going to be Jordan Carrasquillo. I think that's how you pronounce it. So that's what you're going to look for on Milton to have their game as well, to have a significant impact here for the Eagles. Okay. Now we're getting into we'll pivot back to the advantages for the Hornets here, because I kind of went off on a tangent here. Keys to the game. The all-important keys to the game on how Roswell secures their region victory over the Milton Eagles, and as well as a region title, and getting a first seed in these 5A state playoffs here. You got to play extremely clean. You need another Gainesville performance, in my opinion. You can't open the door for Milton at all, because they will get in your head. Again, this is a rivalry game. We know how these types of games work. It's going to be chippy. It's going to be extremely physical. The refs should in theory let them play. But again, we all know there's going to be a call here and there that's going to be questionable, and it's going to be like a random holding call out of nowhere for either team, because that's kind of just what happens. And from my point of view in Georgia high school football, where you'll get a huge rushing touchdown and there will be some random holding call to call it back. So, okay, extremely clean game. You gotta continue being physical. You have to. There's no other way. It's no other way through Milton. You gotta be physical. You gotta play clean. As well as you have to be clutch. You can't let these opportunities slip away. You need to take advantage of what Milton gives you. If that's a pick in the red zone for them, if that's a fumble, if that's a key turnover on downs, if they get the ball to start the second half and they can't get a drive going, you gotta take advantage of that and go score. That's ultimately what I mean. And also those key moments as well, like going back to the Gainesville game where you drive 99 yards and Trey Smith has a huge rushing touchdown as well, and the 4th and goal stop. For both sides, it goes both ways for the offense and defense. You got to get critical stops when they need to, and you got to get critical points. Critical stops and critical points. Stopping the run for Milton. Like as mentioned earlier, Bentley Hickman is a good back. You must stop him. You must contain the edge and set the precedent in getting after the quarterback. Kind of shifting back over here to the advantages. Roswell does have the sack advantage. They are averaging more sacks per game than Milton, 4-2, basically. And a lot of that's you can contribute to Coach Cumberland for that as well on the D line and the various blitz packages the Hornets throw out there, and how comfortable they are at playing man to man with how good the DBs have been this year. Stop the run. Light the Gainesville game. Get Campbell going early. You got to get Peel going early. Ideally, you like to not have. Ideally, like to get Peel going earlier in the first half than he did in the second half against Gainesville. But nonetheless, he showed up and it was great. You gotta continue getting a good round game, having that all night long, and just having that dual threat between Trey, Peel, getting out to Campbell. Campbell had a buck 50 against Gainesville. Ideally, if we can get that again, knock on wood, Hornets win. And get Kuzi going as well. Kuzi's the Swiss Army knife of this offense in various ways. He's put him out a receiver, put him in a tailback. He's great. Got to give Trey time to throw. You can't allow. Granted, Trey's creating ability on how he escapes the pocket and everything. That's what makes him so special. But ideally, you don't want him to be under duress all night long from the Eagles' defense. Like I mentioned earlier, continue third down success. Keep converting third downs, especially third and longs if you can. That's what helped Roswell beat Gainesville last week. Jeez. I can talk, right? Yeah. So continue third down success for the Hornets, making sure you convert at minimum the third and fours to shorter. In that standpoint, convert a couple third and longs when you can. Honestly, again, sustaining drives for the Hornets will be key here. As well as don't just, as going back to what I had said earlier, don't lose your cool. You can't allow a dumb penalty to get Milton in the red zone if you're at the 40 and they're about to punt the football to you, right? So don't lose your cool. No dumb penalties. Play clean, play smart, play fast, play physical, all that good stuff. All comes down to this. If this feels like this crazy run following the Buford game earlier in the year, where it's like, okay, we see the potential of this team coming back for down 28-7 and just being ultra clutch. Granted, something that I think halftime kind of killed the momentum for the Hornets there in that Buford game. But since then, it's been points after points after points after points after points, and clutch stops after clutch stops after clutch stops after clutch stops, and just shutting out teams and getting dominant victories. If you want to point to Westlake, if you want to point to Johns Creek, Johns Creek. Lanier especially, beating Gainesville on the road was huge. Like, huge. Like, yeah. I mean, honestly, that game should be submitted for Game of the Year in Georgia high school football. Just how that game was played from both teams. Just literally knockdown, drag out. So, all comes down to this. You have all the momentum on your side. Not Gainesville, excuse me. I'm still so excited after beating Gainesville, after the Hornets beat Gainesville. I'm still just on my mind. It's crazy. And then if we beat Milton here, which I think we will, we'll get into the score prediction here in a minute. I'm going to be talking about that for a while. So, that's what we got. Roswell last beat Milton in 2018. So, it's been a minute. I was in, let's see here, probably fourth grade when the Hornets last beat the Eagles. And that was fourth grade. I'm a junior in high school. How the time flies, right? So, Coach Thompson has a massive opportunity here to secure that victory for the Hornets. And especially after the Gainesville game, it's just going to continue that good mojo, if you will, here, right? So, which is something like, this rivalry means so much to both sides. And the fact that Milton's kind of owned this rivalry for the better half of a decade. It needs to turn. The tables need to turn here. That's effectively what I'm saying. And if it happens, it's going to be awesome. It's really going to be awesome and special. So, with the region title on the line for the Hornets, and a 1 seed in the state playoffs, let's give the score prediction. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to pick against the Hornets. I can't. Just plain and simple, especially after that Gainesville game. And I still feel bad as the guy who covers this school and this team that I picked the Gainesville Elephants to beat us. But again, I blindly followed the majority, and the majority led me astray. And I should have known my own team a little bit better, right? So, and this team specifically, and just the resiliency this team plays with, I think Roswell's resilience gets this done. I think they beat Milton for the first time in the better half of a decade. So, score prediction. Give me Hornets 31, Milton. I'll say Hornets 31, Milton 27. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Hornets 31, Milton 7. Roswell gets a region victory for the first region title for the first time since 2023, I believe. So that was my freshman year. So be sweet, and hopefully we're back here again talking about another awesome Hornets W as we just switch up the lexicon here, right? Switch up the lexicon, provide more emphasis and pizzazz, if you will. So, final score prediction: Roswell 31, Milton 27. At the Nest, 8 p.m. Senior night, blackout, State TV, Peachtree TV. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a spectacle. Halloween night. Happy Halloween to all y'all. Thank you so much for tuning into Inside the Nest. I'm your host, John Schneider, and we will be putting out more content for this Milton game throughout the game. So stay tuned on Inside the Nest on YouTube and Spotify for game updates as well as any content related to this game. And we will have other sports here coming soon. Just been consumed with football here at the moment. We will get to basketballs here starting up here next 2 weeks here. Girls state cross country. Girls cross country is going to state. That's awesome. Softball season just ended. I know we would have put out a video for softball, but congrats Hornets on making it to Sweet 16 of that tournament. And a great season at the end there too. So lots of great stuff happening at the Nest. It's going to be awesome. Students show up, show out. That's all I got to say, man. And, yeah, we'll check back in with y'all here at halftime, during the game, whenever, right? After the game especially, and back here on Inside the Nest. For John Schneider and the rest of the Inside the Nest, so long, everyone.